Alright everyone, I'm never going to lose an opportunity to lambaste and criticize George W. Bush. It's a good time if you're a millennial because, we remember him as that dude who basically ruined the fucking country, causing massive havoc, hundreds of thousands of deaths, economic downturn, international embarrassment on multiple occasions. That dude, he's morally grandstanding now like the grifting war pig hack he is. But first and foremost, before we discuss his war piggishness and his hack of grifting, there will be a pinned comment if you're watching this on YouTube with links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use. 2 of my videos every day are on YouTube and these sites. The other 2 videos are only on the other sites, and that's because I cover topics that YouTube clearly demotes into oblivion at this point. And, there's no point to uploading it on YouTube if no one's going to see it because they never get notified. If it doesn't appear in search or related videos, or it's buried below a million other people, regardless of when it was uploaded and how many fans you have, what's the point? All of these other sites reward me for my work. YouTube at this point basically just tolerates me. There's a little bit of a difference there. Anyway, link in the description. George W. Bush, of all at least living U.S. political figures, is uniquely the least qualified to talk about decency and decorum and feeling sick to his stomach. He's like, well, I feel sick to my stomach still thinking about that there insurrection at the Capitol. It was a bad day. I'm thinking to myself, what happened at the Capitol? Several people died. There were assaults, there were injuries. There was some property damage, although not a huge amount. And there was violence there. Although, by the standards of the MSM, they should have said it was a fiery but mostly peaceful protest. The hypocrisy really is a letdown as well. There are people, by the way, that actually believe it. There are people that can't see through the MSM bullshit. It's disgraceful lack of journalism that we see over the last few years. George W., though, of all people, even if everyone at the fucking Capitol had blown themselves up and the Capitol was a pile of flaming, charred debris, it would still be a drop in the bucket compared to all of the problems that George W. caused our country. Look at Hurricane Katrina. You barely even talk about the Iraq War and he would still be a miserable failure. Look at Katrina. Thousands and thousands dead, tens of thousands internally displaced. Why? Because he had carpet-bagged the head of FEMA in there. It was a business buddy that had absolutely no experience in disaster response and had to head the Katrina response for 3 fucking days. People didn't have any real aid at all. The levees broke and people got flooded out and it caused billions and billions in damage just in one fucking city. And of course it hit other places in the same region quite hard as well. You had literally like caravans of Americans migrating around that general vicinity trying to figure out what the fuck they're going to do. My home's gone. My business is gone. My car is gone. All of my belongings are gone. There's nobody here to help me. There's literally nowhere for me to go. I mean, you must have been great if you had like local relatives living 100 further miles inland and you're like, yeah, my house got damaged too. We don't have any windows, but we still kind of have a roof. So yeah, you can come and crash with us for the foreseeable future while W completely fucks the country up. Look at the economic damage that he did. Look at the over 500,000 deaths just among civilians in Iraq alone. Tens of thousands in Afghanistan. Tens of thousands of U.S. troops killed or injured. Tens of thousands of cases of post-traumatic stress disorder. They used to call it shell shock. He was a miserable failure, a traitor to our country. He should have no monuments to him. I find it funny when people on the left are like, well, Trump doesn't even deserve to be remembered. We need to literally try to pass a law to prevent him from a twice impeached president from having like a presidential library and shit. Even if I was a leftist, I would look at W and I would look at Trump and I'd say W was worse. By far. You've got recency bias. All these liberals, they breathe down Trump's neck because he happened to be a more recent president. Do you not remember what the W era was like? How 9/11 was used explicitly by the government to deride the First and Fourth Amendments? Can you not remember that period of time? Can you not remember mission accomplished? Can you not remember all the times that he fucked up and he, they literally created a term Bushisms for when he'd say weird shit? Do you not remember the time that he caused, so many times you can barely enumerate them all, international incidents where in diplomacy other people had to cover for his ass because he had said or done something fucking stupid? Yeah, trust me, George W. is the most failed modern president. Yes, worse than Obama. Now, I'm saying that as someone who, of course, had been deriding Obama constantly. I would rather, if I had to choose between another 4 years of W and another 4 years of Obama, Well, I mean, other than the option of just offing myself, I think that I would choose Obama, in all honesty. That's how bad fucking Bush was. For him to come out with all of the blood on his hands, and all of the grifting, and all of the ineptitude, and all of the fucking piles of skulls like fucking Pol Pot style in parts of the third world, after all the damage that he did to other countries as well as of course, to the United States itself, just economically, just in the sense of diplomacy beyond even the loss of life that he's involved with. For him to come out and talk about the Capitol riot, a singular event over the course of a few hours with a death toll of 4, and say it makes him sick to his stomach, my God, the cognitive dissonance of anyone that takes him seriously is arguably worse than his own evil. He's an evil, malevolent fuck who used Dick Cheney as a shield because Dick Cheney seemed more coherent. Here's Bush's biggest grift, and he conned the American people, including many of his deriders. He put Cheney there to look like the Darth Vader of the administration, so that Bush had the plausible deniability of just chuckling and looking at his feet and shuffling around a little bit and looking like he was just nuts, looking like he was just dumb. Oh, Bush did an oopsie. Yeah, 10,000 people died, but it had to have been that Cheney, because Bush, he's out to lunch, he couldn't possibly be responsible for it. Because he's just a funny dude. Oh, he did chuckles and stuff. I loved it when, like, Fox was talking about the 2004 election campaign. They're like, well, he won over Kerry because he's more likable. And I'm thinking to myself, by that time, there were already tens of thousands of deaths, and we had basically destroyed all of Iraq's infrastructure. And yet the same people think he's more likable. Well, that just says more about John Kerry. By the way, John Kerry in trouble because he wasn't wearing a mask on the airplane, and supposedly, American Airlines says you're not allowed to fly with them if you do that. So I guess he'll have to use Delta or something next. He'll have to use one of his private airplanes. In fact, it might have been a private airplane because he's so rich. So maybe we can't jump down his throat. Yeah, the rules for thee, not for me, definitely applies with Democrats in the current administration. And anyway, George W. basically is a Democrat. After a fashion, neocons and neolibs, basically the same thing. He's just part of the same globalistic cabal of evildoers. For him to come out and say, oh my God, no, the Capitol insurrection, it brings a tear to my eye, it was such a sad day. Dude, you shock and awe, you were like bombing random infrastructure all over Baghdad and everywhere else in Iraq and killing many civilians in the process. And then you rolled in with hundreds of thousands of men and killed 500,000 people. You invaded several sovereign nations with absolutely no just cause, creating a massive international embarrassment for the United States. You're crazy and a terrible person. George W. would be on the short list for worst presidents we've ever suffered under, considering the situation. His idea of conservatism was a tiny stimulus check that he gave to people that failed to stimulate butt-fuck anything, so his economic chop's not necessarily there as well. Keep in mind that Biden is very similar to George W. in his economic thinking. Big government, raise taxes, give people a little bit of their own money back, and then they'll beg you for more, and grift. That's basically all he is. That's about all. Peace out.